Dear students, let us start the discussion on today's newspaper, that is 03rd June 2016. The first article is related to India and its engagement in the neighborhood and extended neighborhood. Now, if we see our past history, India taking up the projects in our neighborhood are always delayed and there are huge cost overruns. In this scenario, India, why can't it go forward with a multilateral engagement on these issues, multilateral cooperation on these issues, is the major theme of this article. Now, if you take up Hambantota port in Sri Lanka, it was first offered to India, but India was unable to take up this project because its resources are limited and at the same time, its ability to sustain those projects over a long run again as the security challenges is also very limited. If you take the Chabahar port itself, though conceived in 2003 itself, it was not moved forward because of various of the reasons. So in this context, the India-China, India-Iran, or India with Afghanistan, everything can be taken forward with a collaborative effort. If you take the India-Chabahar port, so we are seeing it from the perspective of developing an alternative route to St. Petersburg, that is international north-south transport corridor. So India had no financial muscle to develop and maintain the entire corridor. So in this context, why it can't take the friends such as Japan who are interested to take these projects forward and who has the surplus funds. Now, pitching these projects against a third country that is such as China, it is leading to unnecessary competition and a zero-sum game. So if you see the Chabahar port itself, Iran ambassador to Pakistan has to declare that the entire Chabahar port is not offered to India, only part of work it is doing. China and Pakistan are welcome to invest in that particular area. And coming to the Afghanistan, India is building Salma Dam over there and it is also taking up various goodwill diplomacy efforts. But if you observe, once the Western forces withdraw from Afghanistan, so the security of these developmental projects is a major concern. There are also reports that there are efforts to blow up the Salma Dam. So, India, in taking up forward these developmental projects, so it is better it associate with the regional players. India, Iran, Russia, these three countries can group on taking forward the developmental efforts in Afghanistan, where all these three countries also have stakes in the stability of Afghanistan. Now coming to this China, One Belt, One Road initiative, India has to understand that many of our neighboring countries wanted to take advantage out of it. India calling it as fall or else India opposing it will not make a much difference. So in these circumstances, India instead of opposing to that, India can join that particular initiative and gain economically from the infrastructure which is being created. And added to that, India-China anti-terrorism cooperation. So it is an important component of the strategic partnership and this partnership is one which is not realized its potential. So though, what is the major reason? Is we see both India and China see the terrorism from the prism of Pakistan. So they have to openly engage on various developmental efforts, either it is in Russia or in Iran with regard to the developing of oil fields, etc. So a collective effort, a multilateral cooperation will give a good gains economically and also strategically for India in the long run. Now coming to the tragedy of the boat people. Now you know from North Africa and also West Asia, people are flowing into Europe. So in between they have to cross Mediterranean. The people coming from Syria and all these countries, they go to from Turkey, they move to the Greece, crossing the Mediterranean. And other route is people from Libya, they go to Italy, from Italy they enter the European Union. So for these migrants, there are two routes majorly. One is Greece and Turkey route, the other one is Italy route. There is an agreement recently between European Union and Turkey where a swap, a Syrian immigrant will be taken from Turkey in exchange for an illegal immigrant who is sent back to Turkey. So in this case, the illegal immigration or else migrant flow from Greece route has decreased, but the Italy route did not. In this context, what has to be done to decrease the deaths on the boats in Mediterranean Sea? The first, European Union countries shall liberally accept the people, and second, there have to be an effort to end the failure of the state or lack of statelessness in this Syria, Libya, etc. So the peace has to gain precedence in these particular countries. And the third thing is the European Union countries, they shall collectively function towards bringing in alternatives, especially with regard to the employment opportunities or benefits towards these particular people. So in this case, the Germany's integration plan can be a best example for you if you have gone through the yesterday's newspaper. So here, the Italy has proposed for creation of separate bonds to handle the immigration crisis which the Germany has opposed. So something kind of this innovative solutions are necessary along with a proactive rescue mission on the higher seas. Now coming to genocide. During the World War I, what happened is the Armenians, these are killed by the Turks who are the part of the Ottoman Empire. So these Armenians to the tune of 1.5 million are killed on a ground that they are helping the Russia. So 24 countries as of now declared this killing of Armenians as a genocide. Now latest in the list is Germany. So Germany has a special situation over here because more than 3 million population in Germany are actually from Turkey. So in this context, Germany has also declared the killing of Armenians during the Second World War or during the First World War as a genocide. What it has been said is an objective understanding of history is necessary to rectify the mistakes. Now coming to intellectual property rights, you know that Special 301. Now if the IPR regime of a particular country is not or is unfavorable to American companies, America keep these countries under Special 301 list. So under this, India is kept under priority watch list. So in these circumstances, the India has brought in a new IPR policy and Prime Minister Modi is about to discuss the issues of IPR with President Obama. So here, the NGOs together, what they asked is, the TRIPS has to be the guiding force for the IPR. If IPR norms are made stringent under the United States pressure, ultimately it questions or it brings in the questions of equity and access with regard to the healthcare, education and other basic benefits. Now, electronic policy. So, anywhere, any country, if you take the China, it has moved from a low cost or low value addition but bulk commodities, it means, which has got a wider market they focused on. So the electronic industry is such a thing where the low margin or value addition with a wider volumes is possible. So India, if it hands to create a manufacturing hub, it has to provide a base for this. And it is the right time because the real wages in China are increasing. And added to that, the electricity is becoming costlier. So in these circumstances, India has a good avenue for capturing the global $2 trillion dollars market of electronic industry. And now for this, there has to be a predictable tax policy framework, and then there has to be export-oriented growth strategy, and finally, India also has to provide for necessary tax benefits for these companies which have a potential to create an employment up to 20,000 or is bringing investments greater than 1 billion worth. Now, President Modi on mygov.in, he started taking the feedback on various initiatives taken up by the government, which can be seen as a productive way of engagement with the citizenry. So this two-way communication between the government and citizen using the information technology can be cited as a best example for a connected governance, participative e-governance, etc. Now, coming to Indian Express newspaper, the first one is in Afghanistan, there is a massive crisis of the state. Now, from 1950s onwards, if you take the Afghanistan scenario, it is majorly dependent on the aid from either USSR or from United States of America. So 3/4 of the total budget or planned expenditure of the Afghanistan, it was coming in the form of the aid in the earlier days. After the USSR occupation of Afghanistan and then later the Taliban entry, the Afghan economy is now more and more dependent on illicit trade of drugs, especially the opium trade. Now, in this case, a new national government was created after the Karzai, and as no fraction has got the necessary majority, a national unity government was suggested. This government is neither decisive nor functional or do not enjoy the legitimacy of the people. So, in this context, after 1 year what has to be done, so it is not yet been clear, and the lower jirga has to amend the constitution for this matter, and also lower jirga is not been constituted till now as there are no provincial and district elections. So it appears that there is a chaotic statelessness in Afghanistan, and if Western troops are also withdrawn from the Afghanistan, it can lead to a lawlessness. So at this point of time, a decisive government is the need of the hour in Afghanistan. Coming to carry on governor article, it is about Raghuram Rajan. So now, Raghuram Rajan has brought certain remarkable changes how we organize and manage our economy. The first one in this is inflation targeting. So with regard to monetary policy, Raghuram Rajan has clearly made inflation targeting shall be the primary objective. And monetary policy as linked positively to the fiscal policy. To the extent fiscal consolidation occurs, to that extent the monetary policy used as a tool for the growth of the economy. And the third thing is banking sector reforms. The first one is consolidation of their balance sheets. The NPAs are in the quality assessment review. The NPAs are being assessed and the bank balance sheets are redrafted. And added to that, to increase the formal access to the banking sector, new payment banks are also being issued. So the major criticism against Raghuram Rajan is India's growth is compromised through its monetary policy. But however, if we observe the larger picture and if you see the country among the Committee of Nations, India is still a bright picture. Now, coming to the editorials on Indian Express, the bigotry on beef. Now, if you see, Mr. Akhlaq was killed in UP on assumption of consuming beef. So in this context, the government of the day and the members of the ruling coalition, they reacted vividly against this. So we need to understand that a government is a government for all the people, not to a particular section. So a constitutional democracy has to be prevailed. It has to respect the diversity. So in this context, the unnecessary focus on these matters, they may revert India back to this particular, the focus may be shifted away from the developmentalism. The reworking of the frame. In Jharkhand, Mr. Birsa Munda, he is a leader of Adivasis during the independence movement. He is being projected as a new hero. So what the article says is, not just projecting him as a hero, his ideals also need to be taken. He fought against intoxication and also exploitation of the Adivasis. In this context, in the Jharkhand, in the name of the development and mineral exploitation, there is more and more exploitation of the workers is happening. So, the development strategy has to take Adivasis and their welfare in the spirit of Birsa Munda rather than their exploitation in the spirit of colonial government. That is what has been spoken about. Unfair and unlovely. So India has a racial stereotype and a clear adherence to color or preference to color, so which has to be fought internally from every citizen. So it means that India by and large, a society which is fair or which is focused to the fair-minded fair-colored citizens. So in this context, change is inevitable. So these are the articles for today. Thank you very much.